Go. Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on May 11th, 2025 at approximately 9 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life's journey to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every decision I make by. Now, with this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we get into things, a hats off to Storm. He is the primary moderator that makes absolutely certain as much of the technology that can work does work. He's also the one that keeps our problem children out of the area. Now, next to him, we have LA Moon, the primary moderator on site that helps keep the conversation going, as well as make certain that my health is held together. So you guys don't get the pleasure of watching another heart attack take place. In all fairness, I don't know if I've had a heart attack on air. I'm wondering whether I should try that or not, but probably a bad idea. But today we are talking about, and before we get to that, we have Eternity Eternally is in the house with the gold. How's it going, Eternity? Glad you can make it. And Operation Shutdown, you are in with the silver. Now, today we are looking at man's place in the consortium. You know, I've heard from a staggering number of people. This is a prison planet. This is a quarantine planet. This is it's an isolated planet. You know, it's a protected planet. And we are under constant surveillance for the purpose of conquest. So, other than mankind seeming to really want to put themselves on a pedestal, I hate to be the one to pop this bubble for you, but let's start with the obvious. Is this a prison planet? Well, how many prisons, whether we're talking about on Earth or in a movie, how many prisons have the number of abductees or breakouts as Earth apparently has, if you take into consideration the whole idea of abductions? You know, I just caught LA says, I'd appreciate it if you didn't. This is presumably having the heart attack on TV, or on TV on stream. But, people tell me this is a prison planet. Well, it's got to have the most pathetic security I've ever even conceived of, given the number of abductions that take place. Are we a quarantine planet? Well, I'm not entirely certain about you guys, but quarantine, doesn't that mean people aren't supposed to come and go as they will? Instead of having a visitor's log at the moon? Oh, you want to go to Earth? I know it's under quarantine, but go ahead. Can we see the flaw in this logic? Now, is mankind a candidate for the consortium? Technically, yes, it is. But here's the kicker. Every single member species, okay? And where do we go here? Philip Blair, you are in with the bronze. How you doing? Here's the neat little kicker to it. We're going to seize. Mankind is being watched, but every single species in the consortium has a global government. Like, they are already unified on a global level. Now, the weird part about that is even with the less evolved life forms on other planets, you can still have a unified population if they're all working under the same rule. Now, bear in mind, a unified surface does not mean dictatorship. And this is why you will find with some of the races that are going to be up and coming shortly, okay, you will find that many of them do not have the technology, to be qualified as technologically advanced. Although if you look at it in the right way, what you're looking at is a bow and arrow is still a form of technology. But where is mankind's standpoint? Well, mankind, the Zeta Reticulans discovered operation. The answer is 100%. Oh, okay. Oh, where we go? Operation goes, does the consortium view this as a prison planet? The answer is 100% no. They're the ones that keep authorizing people to be taken. Now, does this sound like a prison? Okay. Oh, it's a prison planet. Sure, go ahead and take one out for a run. It's not like a petting zoo either, by the way. Yeah. Philip goes, I wish the consortium could fix our stupid. Seriously. Well, they could, but they also refer to that as eradication of 90% of the population, which I'm thinking may not be a good thing for most people. I like to think I can think, but then again, I wonder about that. But man, when the Zeta Reticulans discovered the human race, complete with the triple helix, they found a source of information, a source of genetic coding that is useful for the hybridization program. This is one of the biggest things that the Zeta Reticulans see as useful. Okay, and the consortium backs it up because you got to understand they boy, we are pulling up a real mess on that, aren't we? When you take a look at the hybridization program, the idea is to grow cultural interpreters. Humans happen to be the easiest to work with and the easiest to repair. There we go. LA goes, the only people that can fix our stupid is us. Absolutely. Now, mankind is being watched because mankind's already left Earth. Granted, we are not interstellar yet, but we are interplanetary. Okay? And yeah, I know you haven't been told that, and that's okay. But mankind is being watched. Oh, Philip, there is always movement behind me. But I presume you're referring to my fiance Kira, who's right behind me here. You just can't see her quite yet. But I've always got spirits in the background anyway. But when you look at what mankind is, mankind has the ability, and they don't realize it on the whole, to manipulate what we call 0-point energy. Okay, and that's what the consortium is watching for, because if man ever figures it out, and they get unified, they could be a very formidable force to work with. Unfortunately, man is still so territorial amongst its own people that the odds of them actually unifying anytime within about the next 100 to 150 years is not good. Okay, mankind right now is in a real neat little bend of trying to find new and exciting ways to say, oh, the guy next to me looks, pretty much the same as me, minor differences, and, and therefore, you're a lesser person. Okay, Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And I do believe, yes. Christine, you are in with honorable mention. mankind is going to bring a lot to the consortium. Now, we got to remember, the consortium is literally millions of years old. So, yes, they've got the technology to remove the infestation of humans, except their own laws prohibit it. So they won't do it. And let's face it, with mankind's level of technology right now, they're not exactly a threat. Now, some people have been shown the inner workings of the consortium. I'm not the only one. Okay. Can I tell you who else is involved? Even if I could, I wouldn't. But I will tell you, I keep sitting here questioning my own information. And Lord knows I've been asked a lot of times about it. Okay. One of the things we have to remember when you're looking at man's place in the consortium, we are a member planet, a member species to be and to come. Okay. And that really boils down to one thing. Get your head out of the sand and start treating each other the way you desire to be treated. When that happens, then you'll find increased direct communication. But this neat little idea that so many people have of there's going to be this mass revelation saying, hey, we're here. You gotta let go of the idea. This is not the Gong Show. Actually, in all fairness, I think it is. But mankind has the ability to push into areas when we talk and when Star Trek coined the phrase, when Star Trek coined the phrase, to boldly go where no man has gone before. The consortium looks at what the human race is doing and goes, okay, these guys haven't got two brain cells to rub together, and yet they're jumping all over the galaxy already. Okay, but they still haven't figured out that you've got to work together. Oh, no, Philip, not the Bong Show. Way back in the 70s, there was a very bizarre game show. Okay, or talent show. I'm not sure what you'd call it. But if you were doing bad, they literally had a great big, I think, brass bell or brass gong that they would hit to tell you to get off the stage. Now, the thing is, mankind is being watched quite. Oh, there we go. Storm's just bringing us up to speed. It was hosted by Chuck Barris. Mankind is being taught. Individuals are being taught and being asked to spread the word in order to try and prep humans for inclusion in the consortium. Problem is, humans still have this brilliant idea they're supposed to be in control. Little bit of an ego problem here, although they're not the biggest ones. Whoa, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Mankind is easy from the consortium standpoint, very easy to repair. And the triple helix DNA makes it so much simpler to cross-reference it to create a hybrid in almost every one of the available races. The only ones that they run into a problem with are things like, for instance, the elementals, okay, the Holic, the Walosh, and the Cordon. You don't mix with humans, okay? Reason being, these guys are literally elemental. Put one too close to a Holic, the human will die before you get anywhere near it, even if you've just taken the cells. Okay, But whenever you're looking at a bipedal form, humans are the easiest to modify because they're not locked in rigid thinking, which is where, if you look at the Mobians, now you take the Mobian who were human, okay, and evolved beyond what humans know, okay, they are locked in their own thinking, therefore making their DNA a little bit unmanageable. The Anunnaki who evolved on Earth also are not compatible. But you also got to remember, the Anunnaki, their cell structure is a lot bigger. And this is why, when I had somebody tell me a while back, they went, I'm a natural hybrid, I'm a natural half-breed of an Anunnaki. Now, understand, humans are 5.5 to 6 feet tall on, are 5.5 to 6 feet tall on average. Anunnaki are 15 to 30. Now, I'm not sure, but I can't see there ever being a natural half-breed. Okay, but humans do seem to adapt much better than many races at speaking another language. Okay, and I don't know the genetic reason for that, but this is why the consortium is watching them, or is watching you. Take your pick. Okay, but humans do have a place to share in time. Okay, when you end up taking a look at them, okay, in time, humans will become members of the consortium, assuming they don't blow themselves up in the process. Okay, I appreciate that, Christine. And yeah, 15 feet, you're a young adult. They just don't stop growing. Okay, but the Anunnaki left Earth with the assistance of the consortium in order to get out of the way. But yes, in case you're wondering, they are on their way back. No, they're not going to show up on Earth and wander around. Don't hold your breath on that. Where it comes to the consortium, humans are not only better in a lot of ways at understanding different languages, they're also better in many fashions to be able to actually translate it. Philip goes, some humans self-identify as unevolved, and I usually agree with the self-assessment of these particular humans. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't mind when somebody says, look, I'm a bit of a dinosaur. I mean, Lord knows I've said that. Now, Christine's asking, will they just observe us or help us? I wish they'd help us, but I know it's our problem to solve and ones that we create. Well, here's the problem. They will, in all fairness, from what I gather, from what I've been told about what they're up to, they're coming back to check and see what mankind has done. Are they going to come down and solve it? Well, let me ask you this. You've got a house that the roof is only 10 feet tall, and all your tools are built, and I mean all your tools, all your nails, all your products are built for people that are 5.5 feet tall. Okay, all of their tools are built for people that are 15 to 30 feet. So, if you want somebody looking through your third floor window or the fourth floor window, this may work. But no, what's happening is people like myself are being told, look, pass this on, get these guys aware that they've got to work together. Now, give you an obvious example. Technology and I do not get along. However, Storm pops up. Oh, love? Yeah. Philip Blair says, greetings.
Oh, hello.
Technology and I don't know if you heard that, Philip, but Kira says hello. The reality of it is, I'm not technologically adept. Storm has come out of the woodwork. Well, out of the woodwork, I've known him for a while. But Storm has stepped up and said, great, I'll help you run the tech side of it. What we're doing, what the liaisons, myself included, are doing, or are supposed to be doing, is saying, hey guys, quit separating yourselves into smaller and smaller groups, because that's not going to get you where you're aiming for. If you're aiming to become a member of the consortium, to be accepted in the consortium, you can't keep breaking your whole society down into smaller and smaller parts. Oh, Philip says, I heard. Hello. So, this is what we're doing. And I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I'm hearing, I'm channeling such and such an individual. Okay. Now, I'm not going to tell you who's doing it right or who's doing it wrong, because there isn't a right or wrong. But I will tell you, if whoever is being channeled is saying, oh, you've got to separate these people and tell them you know what you're doing and they're idiots, or anything that separates or downgrades somebody else. This is not anybody talking. This is not anybody being channeled, because you don't channel Elmer Fudd. Okay? That just doesn't happen. What you got to realize is that the liaisons that are actually working with the consortium or with any other race are not here to tell everybody, oh, you're not good enough. Okay? On an individual level. Certainly, the wars that take place on Earth, there is a common consensus in the consortium. You guys don't know how to have a war. Okay, you really don't. If you're going to have a war, have it, fine, no problem, but get it over and done with. This idea of it taking any length of time, okay, like without serious, and I don't mean without a serious win, but when you look at the Teklek and the Swazian War, or just the Teklek Civil War, okay, they don't have days off. They don't have anybody saying they're going, oh, the opposition is having a holiday or they're having a funeral. Well, I can understand the funeral. We killed a bunch of them. So we already killed a bunch of them, but we can't do that on a holiday. Okay. Or during a funeral. So the reality is, this is the thing that's got to be put to an end. Okay. This is the message that the Anunnaki are, like so many others, bringing back. When the Anunnaki were growing up here, and you guys have seen their skeletons. Okay, many of you have anyway. Okay, have seen the skeletons of the Anunnaki. These are the people that have the 6-foot skulls, not a 6-foot body. Okay, but humans are being watched for the individuals that are capable of accepting the fact that humans are not the only people here. Okay, and that humans can have a positive impact, but they got to choose to do so. And in the interest of those of you that have asked me before, how do I become how do I get to be a liaison with the consortium or with any of the other races? To those of you asking that, number one, without exception, okay, treat people the way you desire to be treated. Bearing in mind, people, animals, plants, people, elementals, all of them qualify as people. That's where you start. In all fairness, Philip, I really do not follow the news. I don't even have cable. Okay, but I suspect, and Storm probably has this information, but I suspect that you're looking at Peru, Africa, South America, all over the place. Okay, places like that, and many in the Eastern world as well as in China. They're literally scattered all over the world. Okay, you see various different archaeology pictures, especially in my case, especially on Facebook and LinkedIn. Okay, where you see humans standing beside these skeletons, and the skeletons and the humans are only as tall as a shin bone. Okay, but these are the Anunnaki. Okay, and when you take a look at that, okay, they're the Anunnaki from before. But humans have to start dealing with each other on an equitable fashion and quit fighting over landmass. It's funny, We're going to colonize Mars, which, by the way, the Martokians are not overly impressed with the idea. Philip, I don't blame you there. The best I can tell you is search around on Facebook. I don't even know how to do that. Okay, but search around on Facebook or any other site, and I'm sure you can come across them. But it's always on archaeological digs, just to give you an area, a way to narrow it down. Now, with humans, because of the fact that humans are small enough to help with certain different races. For instance, translating books for the well, and I just pulled an absolute blank. But for the smaller races, not the least of which is the Zotar. Okay, humans can write small enough that the Zotar can actually read it, if you get one that's trained to read. Now, the other thing you got to remember with the humans, because humans are so easy to repair, yeah, you're going to love this one. They are beautifully suited to actually be sent into more hostile environments within reason, because they're easier to put back together. Yeah, they'll get damaged, absolutely. AKA shock troops on an exploration run. Okay. Yeah, absolutely, Philip. I'd love to get your take on it. Philip's just going, all right, I'll browse around to see on Facebook. The neat part about it is the consortium is looking at the human race as essentially exploration shock troops. In other words, there's a hostile environment, easy to put an environmental suit around a human, doesn't require a lot. Oh, I see. No, the Zotar, essentially, Philip, the Zotar look like a gecko. Okay, like a Terran gecko. And yes, we're working on now. Okay, unfortunately, I got a bit of a reprieve. My fiance, Kira, is not going home on the 21st. I got another week with her, which gives us another week to work on the different races and to get that book tied. Choosy, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Here we go. He goes, now, that's right, we are healing machines. Just fill us up with chocolate flavonoids. Uh-oh. Where are we here? Now prepare the way for Wawa, revamping the menu. Oh, that Choosy, that's terrible. But when you look at the human race, humans are oddly adept at taking in, even though they seem to argue with themselves over whether they are all one race, they do seem to be relatively adept at accepting the possibility of other races having sentience. Okay. And I will tell you, there's another thing you can find on Facebook from that end, and that is the Arboreans. Down in Borneo and in the South Pacific, you can actually see the walking trees at one heck of a clip. But the consortium is looking to humans as a way, in their eyes, of reaching out. Okay, of reaching out in order to, shall we say, embrace what they call lesser evolved life forms. Okay, it's kind of like, it's kind of like that neat little issue. It's kind of like that neat little issue of, okay, we've got a dog that's really friendly or a horse that's really friendly. Let's treat it like a person. Okay, and this works. That's the biggest catch to it. Okay, is we gotta be willing to do it.
Pardon me for
What?
interrupting. I've got an image here on screen.
Perfect.
It's not very big, but that's the best image we have.
Yeah, the image may not be big, but look at the difference in height. Now, picture somebody that size utilizing standard human interaction to produce a half breed. The Anunnaki is the tall skeleton. The human is the shorter skeleton. Can we see where there might be a problem here? Okay, this is also the reason why these guys don't walk around. Although there is no doubt they're already in the outskirts of our solar system. Okay, so with that in mind, thank you so much for that, Storm. Really appreciate it. You know, these guys are already on their way back in. Now, I found somebody at one point turned around and said they're on a 3,600 year cycle. Okay, trip out and back, which is great. Okay, and I'm not going to argue the cycle. Okay, I was good at math, I just never bothered looking into it. But, you know, the nice part about it, when you take a look at humans and what can be done with the consortium, there are places humans will not be allowed to go. And you can be really thankful about that. Now, I've already been, under the right circumstances, to the Strazazian homeworld. You don't want to walk outside, okay? And the nice part there is the way they lock the doors is they make the door heavy enough you can't open it. And of course, bearing in mind, it's a high gravity planet to start with. Some humans are permitted, okay? Some humans are absolutely permitted on consortium ships. And some of you have already stated you've been there. Okay, now, I'm not the only one out there. And as was pointed out centuries back, I think, certainly 100 years ago, you want to get an idea of how to describe things. Take 5 blind people and get them to describe an elephant. Okay, because the reality is people have different interactions. But the one thing that everybody seems to agree on, at least the ones I've talked to, is if the consortium were intent on taking over Earth, they wouldn't have waited until we had even guns. Okay, they've been here since before mankind was even a thought. So humans they're set to be and already being prepped to be interactive liaisons on behalf of the consortium in newer, smaller life forms. Okay, in more of the fragile ones. Let's face it, humans are easy to hurt. Okay, so they're not quite as imposing as somebody that happens to be armored to the gills. Okay, Or as with some of these races, never mind their size, their natural combat ability makes it very imposing. Okay, so this is where humans are standing. This is why humans are being looked at. Not from a conquest standpoint, waste of time. If they really wanted to conquer Earth, it could be done overnight. And you guys wouldn't even know it. However, they are taking a few people and they are bringing them back, by the way. Okay, hence why I'm still here. Not that I haven't asked not to be, but I will tell you, since Kira came into my life, I haven't been looking at leaving the planet permanently. Still play around with the idea of having another fatal heart attack, but I warned her about that. Yes, for me, it's a simple issue. Now, there we are. Now, one of the neat little things that we gotta take a look at, okay, is humans, because they are as adaptable as they have proven to be. And I'm talking about adaptable genetically speaking. Okay, humans are very adaptable, very capable of interacting. The real catch to it is humans have to learn to put their ego aside. Because if they don't put their ego aside, until the majority of them are looking at the possibility even of off-worlders and ancient races, until humans realize, on the whole, they are not the top of the totem pole. They are not the most advanced race. And rest assured, they are certainly not the most spiritually involved. These are things that as liaisons, we are being asked to promote. Let people know. Number one, all of you have value. The human race has a lot to bring, not the least of which is the human race has this incredible imagination that can help them bridge complete logical hiccups. Okay, and this is why they're being contacted. And by the way, it's not just the mental geniuses that are being contacted. Clearly not. I mean, let's face it, I deal with them. And I'm not exactly what we call an intellectual giant. Okay, but they are looking for people that are willing and able to accept interaction with a non-human entity. And yes, they do have universal translators, both ones that have been grown and ones that are rudimentary where it comes to linguistics. But at least it gets the point across. Rudimentary, just to give you an idea. Okay, when you go to Google.translate on the internet, okay, and I got this from a very fluent speaking German. According to that individual, if you put a sentence in German, and I mean German specifically, so I can only surmise that it's pretty much the same with other languages. What they told me was if you put one sentence in, it's pretty much on the money. If you put a paragraph in, the odds are it's going to screw it up. Okay, and this is the same thing with Consortium computers. Okay, but now get this. Consortium computers are crystalline computers, but here's the kicker. They are 7-sided crystals. And yes, you can make a 7-sided crystal, okay, if you know gem cutting. The 6-sided ones, which is the way that crystals normally grow on Earth, okay, are not compatible as a computerized crystal. But the Consortium does know humans adapt very well to changes like that and are very good. There's only one race that I can think of right off the top of my head, okay, that are absolutely able to make that, to actually carve these gems. Susan Ahern, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, that group. Okay, humans can. The only ones that are really bad are decidedly better at modifying crystals are the Kaldor, and the Kaldor are from Earth. Okay, they're just not human. You would know them as dwarves, and the reason that they are not high on the list of inclusion into the consortium is because, politely put, they are stubborn as all get out. You know, humans talk about being stubborn. They got nothing over the Kaldor. But humans are being brought in to be educated, to talk to and learn how to communicate with various different, if you will, somewhat less technologically evolved races in order to help them come up to speed. Because rest assured, the consortium is not looking for people with better gear than they've got. They've been at it for millions of years. Kind of takes away from the idea of, well, what are we going to do with that? We've got this, and we want to take somebody that's been around for a couple of 100,000 and tell them they're at the same level. Understand there is technology out there that the consortium uses that doesn't even work on a physical level. It runs on the quantum realm. Okay? But some humans can figure it, can accept it. And they don't have to be able to teach it. Okay? They really don't. I'm not entirely certain how that translates. I'm just looking at this Phelps goes dwarves. Makes me think of the Kentucky Derby. Last I knew, the Kentucky Derby was horses. But I'm a little obtuse on occasion. Hey, Blue, how you doing? Glad you could join us. When we take a look, if you watch over the next several decades, you're going to see more and more people coming out going, oh, I'm in constant contact with these races. First rule of thumb, make sure you're careful, because a lot of people are literally pushing for that 15 minutes of fame. Okay, and rest assured, I am not the top of the totem pole. There are people who know more than me. Okay, a lot of people. But when we come to the consortium, you gotta realize these guys are already geared to the concept of, if push comes to shove, sterilizing this planet is easy, but they won't do it in such a way that they harm Esau. Okay, that's the easy part. But you realize how easy it is for an off-world race to take a look at the human, as somebody earlier put it, the human stupidity, okay, and eliminate the problem without damaging anybody. Okay, without damaging any of the others. What we are looking at here is the human race is being primed for interaction on more of a communication level, because the human brain is still, especially by many of these races, underdeveloped. Therefore, getting them taught with translation capacity or outfitted with a technological translator, okay, is child's play, because you don't have all the complicated nuances. I mean, you take a look at the Udina, okay, who work in three-dimensional writing. If you watch the movie Visitors, okay, and you saw those hetapods, okay, you would find out something rather intriguing, okay, and that is, they show you in that movie that the writing is only two-dimensional. The writing is, in fact, three-dimensional, because it's done floating in a liquid suspension. Now, what do we got here? I think I missed something. Nope. Oh, that's what all that is. Now, when we take a look at this, humans are actually some of the races see humans as a great addition to their zoo. And rest assured, some humans I've seen kind of fit there, but humans are being primed for down the road becoming liaisons. Okay, that is one of the biggest issues you got to look at. Okay, that's one of the biggest purposes, second only to participation, albeit involuntary in most cases, with the hybridization program. Okay, what humans have to realize is, when you start worrying about the nuclear power on Earth, okay, this is necessary. Okay, the fact of the matter is, where are we here? The fact of the matter is that humans are being primed for it. Hey, love. Hi. Humans are being primed for inclusion, but what we're looking at is inclusion down the road. And I'm talking about en masse. The nice little part about it is there are things that are taking place. Humans are being included. They're just not consortium members yet because we're still missing that one prime qualifier. Okay? And you guys got started on the right track when you put the UN together. That was what got their attention. And I don't know, that was what, 70 years ago now? Okay, when the UN was put together in the first place. That's what got the consortium's attention. Because that showed a willingness and the effort to put a unified world together. A unified world, one world government does not mean a dictatorship. Okay. It also does not mean a stupid bunch of potatoes put on a boat. But what we have to realize is until humans start looking at each other and going, you're different than me, but equal. Okay, until you guys start doing that, the consortium is simply taking individuals, and no, they do not have a quota. They do not have a government-sanctioned abduction routine. Okay, I cannot tell you for certain what happened back in the days of Churchill. I really can't. What I can tell you is there is none sitting there now. Okay, Lauren, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Okay, the consortium itself is, however, contacting individuals. And I'm not the one to tell you who's going to get picked. I'm not the guy that says, hey, talk to Bob down in southern Tennessee. He's a good guy. You should pick him up. I don't make those calls. Okay. I simply look at it going, okay, if you're asking, this is what you've got to do. You've got to treat the people around you, whether they are intellectually at your level or not. Treat all of them equally. Just to give you a prime example. Okay, I was watching a young lass. She was taking what we call a handicapped child out, or a handicapped adult out. Okay, on a wheelchair. So what did I do? Oh, okay, there we go. Philip, and just looked it up. United Nations founded October 24th, 1945 in San Francisco, California. He goes, ask the internet. Makes sense. But I was out, I saw this handicapped adult being wheeled in a wheelchair. I didn't talk just to the attendee. I talked directly to the individual because the reality is they are an individual. Ouch. Lauren goes, yeah, still on the mend. You know, yeah, that suture comes out. It's going to feel a little funny. The only thing I can suggest, and I mean, I'm no man, I'm no dentist by any means, but a salt water rinse is absolutely perfect. Blue. Blue is asking, is there a timetable for when Earth humans will join the consortium as a whole species? Best I can tell you is it's not a timetable, but an event table. When humans start treating humans as equals, that's when the door starts to open. Okay, but until that happens, they won't even be looking at it from a full level. Okay, what they will be looking at is individuals that are making the effort. So, yeah, you or maybe your children, depending on how things work. Okay, you or maybe your children will become liaisons. I cannot tell you exactly how, but I can tell you people around the world are being monitored. If you think Big Brother, as in Terran governments, are keeping close tabs on what you're thinking or what you're posting, it is nothing compared to what the consortium is watching, because they watch thought processes. And yes, they have full-blown telepaths, which can pull your brain apart, metaphorically speaking, in order to watch what's going on. So we are looking at the evolution of the species. You've already got the template, guys. The UN is set up properly. Now you just got to realize that all countries have to be accepted. Okay, have to be able to participate if they're willing. Now, this does not mean when you get the little pocket communities, okay, where there is a stunted civilization, okay, where they're still doing everything by hand, etc. They do not have to. The consortium doesn't go, hey, there's this community in the Congo that you got to bring in. Philip, the answer would be no. I don't have the news. I catch a little on Facebook. Okay, so I may have seen them, but I don't have a problem with robot horses. Okay, you know, the reality of it is there's a lot of technological advances that are great. The only technology I've ever had a question around is AI. Okay, I've seen what AI does, and true AI you don't want on this planet. I would like to see true RI, aka real intelligence, but I seem to be running into a problem there. One of the things we got to remember where humans and the consortium are concerned. You guys have the template. The UN is a functional template. Parliaments are a very minor version of it. Okay, but their design, parliaments or government housing, or government systems, is a minor way of handling the locals. The UN handles the globals. That's the one that needs to be brought up. But you got to start putting people into power that actually are looking at unity, not looking at decimation. Okay, and this applies to all peoples, but it's just one of those things we have to look at. And not a problem there, Blue. You know, the reality is you phrased the question in a way that it was easy to spot, i.e., all capitals, and therefore I managed to deal with it. Okay, that's why I say I will answer if I can. This is why I got the other monitor over here up. Now, one of the other things that we look at with the consortium looks forward to bringing new people in. Okay, because they are an expansive organization. They simply happen to be the big one that is controlling or is saying, hey, you guys, yeah, you're more advanced. You're not gods. The Eniod tried it. The Gaddafi tried it. They've been shut down. Okay? Even some of the other races have tried it, and I'll get to those down the road. Okay? But the important factor is in today's world, as far as I've been shown, the consortium is not abducting people. Okay? Well, that's not entirely true. They do abduct some people. Now, the ones that get abducted for hybridization are, on the whole, returned. Some people are abducted for dinner. Okay? These ones don't come back. And the ones the consortium is interested in are the ones that are very open-minded. Oh, there we go. And what we have to remember, okay, Philip, you put something in there, but you might want to look at your spelling of Wales. Okay, just a thought. When we take a look at the consortium, they will take people from every walk of life. And yes, just to be clear on that, okay, cats do have an intelligence. Yes, they're as stubborn as all get out. No question there. Hey, love. Wakey. They do have an intelligence, and the consortium does look to these small, what humans call lower life forms, as a form of really turning around and going, okay, these guys have something to bring to the table, because all life brings a different level of understanding. Okay? And humans are finding this out amongst many of the races. What humans are also discovering, okay, is they're discovering that even plants communicate. Hence why the movie Avatar hit so well for me, because somebody figured it out. Okay, and humans are being incorporated one piece at a time, individual at a time, depending on the individual's outlook. Okay, because if you take a look at the closed-minded side of it, the consortium does not try and educate the race, except for going, okay, here's the liaison, here's what we need these people to get. That's where people like me come in. Okay, this is also why we're doing so much writing. Okay, is to get this information out. And there's a lot of change coming, and holy mackerel, missed that altogether. We are about to hit the 10 o'clock mark, guys. With that in mind, okay, I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us today. Really appreciate it. Where is it? Tomorrow we are going to take a look at self-analysis. The octopus, that's one of those neat little races, and we'll have to get to that. How we doing, Bob? Glad you could join us. I want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Love the questions that came in. We will be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow we start the process of self-analysis to take a look in the mirror and find out where you're standing so we can get your life turned around. Okay? Until then, tomorrow we'll be back from starting at 9 p.m. Pacific. We will be back. Okay? Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.